Hello and welcome to this session brought to you by the Academy of Practical Accounts in conjunction with your institution. In this session, we'll look at the final and year-end trial balances, basically putting us in a position to be able to identify them because time arises when we need to present them, especially as part of the accounting schedules. Now let's have a look at these on the device. Oh, you've clicked the wrong button. Okay, now we find these either among year-end reports, and then we click on the year-end adjustments. So basically, we're going to look at these three. Now, C3 is the year-end comparative trial balance. We got C2 year-end journals, and then C1, which is the final trial balance. Now let's look at the other option of accessing these. We click, let me drag this down. Okay, then in that case, I drag this up a little bit. So we click on miscellaneous, and then we look at the mini year-end reports checklist, and then we have our C1, C2, and C3. So we're going to start with C3, which is the year-end comparative trial balance. Okay, it has been generated, and since we're using a bigger device now, we can see more at the same time. Let's pinch this a tiny bit. Tiny bit. Okay, now we've got opening balances. Balances brought forward on the extreme left. We've got nothing for the first, second, and third quarters. And then we have the fourth quarter and the grand total, or the year-end balance. Now, that year-end balance is different from the final balance. The year-end balance is before year-end adjustments. And in this series, we did look at closing stock as one of the year-end adjustments. So what we see in the fourth quarter is what we recorded for month 12. So for month 12, let's see. Anyway, we look essentially to get the grand total. It's a sum of all quarterly balances, including the balances brought forward. So we simply add up. This plus that gives us a 0. That minus that gives us that. This plus that gives us that. It's simply summing up. Now, what appear in red and negative should be what we call credit balances. In accounting, we've got debit and credit balances. So for incomes, we normally have credit balances. For expenses, we normally have debit balances appearing in black. And then the bank account could have either a debit or credit balance. So a debit balance is money on the account, and a credit balance is when the account is overdrawn. All right, now let's have a look below here. 2324 is the capital brought forward. Capital added was 400, and we've got drawings of 12,000. Basically, we're trying to make sense of these. The loan balance is 340. It was 440. 100 was paid. Now let's see. Opening creditors was 28. There was an invoice of 30 and 28 was paid. So the difference is the -2 and the closing balance is the 30, which means that the invoice in the 12th month is not yet paid. It's still outstanding. Now this 3410 was good. This account was adjusted. Now this account is supposed to be, let's change this. Now this 254. Oh, what happens is we've backed up our data, but then the app at the moment doesn't back up modified accounts. So we're going to rectify that one. So we need to go to chart of accounts, modify. Where is that? That one. We will need to modify account 254. Account 254. We double click that, and that is tax outstanding. Wait. Yes, yeah, that's tax outstanding. Outstanding. Right, we update that account, and after that we can go back to our C3 to have a final look at C3. So we are saying that 3 for 10 was outstanding at the start of the year. It was paid in month 12, so we've got a zero closing balance. So that is it about C3, which is the year-end comparative trial balance. Now, apparently, we should be in position to compare what happened in the first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, and this makes sense if the recording is done on monthly or at least quarterly basis. Comparison can still be done at the year end because it doesn't change. You will have the first quarter, second and third quarter, but probably the difference is that it might be a little bit late for that information to serve effectively, because that is what we could call management accounting. Okay, so that brings us to the end of report C3. Now let's go back and look at report C2. Now we're going to realize, okay, just a quick look at, final look at C3. Now what we're going to do, C3, we need to get the final balances on C3. Let's see if we can take their picture. Print screen. All right, grand total 33 there. Okay, we're going to copy that, paste it here. Control V. We just want to verify that these final balances are what we find on the year end. These year end balances are what we find on the final trial balance. Now we're going to look at year end journals on C2. Remember, we recorded only a single year end adjustment, and that was to do with closing stock. The amount was 1500 closing stock. Now this year end adjustment does appear on C1, and C1 is the final trial balance. Now let's go back to and double click the final trial balance. This one has got 3 rows. Click the wrong one. The second one, okay, click that one. We're now on the final trial balance. That's right. Now what we need to establish, good. Okay, let's narrow this one a little bit. Okay, what we need to establish is that these year-end balances come from report C3, which is the year-end trial balance. And as you can see, they are quite identical. Now, this 0 here disappears. That was for account 254, which was the tax outstanding. It opened with a tax owed, and then when it was paid, it does disappear. And then this 0 here, forgotten what this 0 is for, but accounts without values do disappear on trial balances. It doesn't make sense showing 300 balances here when the bulk of them have got no values. So here we can see the year-end balances coming from report C3. We've got the year-end adjustment in the middle column, and then we've got the final balances at the year end. So essentially, it's a sum of these two to get the final balances at the year end. A sum of these two to get a final balances at the year end. Now, one thing we need to point out, final balances are the ones we find on all reports on the accounting, among the accounting schedules, because yeah, on the accounting file we find accounting schedules. Now let's have a quick look. Now I think we have finished with these final balances. So this is what we're going to find on the profit and loss account, on the balance sheet, on all ledger accounts, on all reconciliations. These balances, they must match with these. Yeah, okay. Now we're going to have a quick look at the year-end schedules. Year-end schedules, these are the year-end reports. Okay, they're still called year-end schedules. Now professionally, we would want to know who has prepared the accounts. The name would be typed in there, and the completion date would be established. Let's cancel that one. Now these are the accounting schedules that we file on the accounting file. They are about 85 reports, but remember, not all of them do apply. However, for this particular series of videos, we don't consider this big list of reports. We've got a small one called the mini year-end reports checklist. We don't want to expose you to a lot of unnecessary stuff. If we presented these reports for the small self-employed, for the small sole trading business, these reports would be sufficient. Now these are about 40 reports. Of course, we shall not require all of them because they don't apply. Let's have an example of reports that do not apply to this business. Let's have a look. We got wages reports. They don't apply to this business. We got fixed asset reports. All of these don't apply. And then we got the wages reports here in section E. They all don't apply. So those are going to be looked at in the next few series before we complete this series of videos. Thank you very much. In case of any question, please remember, let's see, our email address is admin@practicalaccounts.com, and then you can also find us on Skype. Remember, we are sorting out the WhatsApp contacts which will be communicated shortly. And thank you.